Hey y'all, welcome. We'll try that again, take two, and record about half of this thing and realize I didn't actually have my mic on, so we'll roll with this again. Welcome to a new thing I'm going to try to do, where I'm going to try to go over some weekly news, things that have caught my mind in the security and tech world, try to explain them to how they might apply to both MSPs and to some smaller businesses. I realized that I needed something to get me recording some thoughts and content more regularly than the kind of ranty videos that I've put up in the past. Probably still will do those. I am an opinionated, grumpy guy, so those probably aren't going to go anywhere. Had COVID about the past week and a half. Do not recommend. Been a whole lot of no fun. Finally getting to a point now where I feel like I can start to function again. A little bit of the brain fog starting to clear up. So, again, I'll probably post one of these maybe weekly, bi-weekly. Just kind of got to go over some news. I'll probably have a beer if I'm doing it in the evening, like I am here. Tonight I am enjoying a Bell's Hop Slam. It is arguably one of my favorite double IPAs. It's good. I like it. So we'll get into it. And we'll go through the things I want to talk about. So first one, conference coming up. I'm gonna attend, so if any of you are down there, I'll probably hang out with you. There's a bunch of people down there that looking forward to seeing. Right a Boom, Andrew Morgan, Cyber Nation is putting that on. I am in no way sponsored by him, but a whole bunch of names. John Hammond, Ryan Weeks is gonna be down there from Datto. We're gonna have Wes Spencer. Always glad to chat with my dictator. May have some secrets planned with him. A bunch of other people that I look up to and like to talk to. So, gonna be probably buying a lot of beers for people down there that I feel like I owe it to it. So, if you're in the space, if you're in the MSP space, and you want to learn a lot about cybersecurity and just hang out with a lot of people that are really really smart and like to drink bourbon, then I will wholeheartedly recommend this as a place to go hang out. So we'll move from there. This is the thing that probably caught my eye, and the thing that kind of prompted this, and I didn't think I could talk about this long enough to do kind of like a whole take video on it. So I kind of pulled this and a couple other things into this to kind of try to talk about them. CISA actually released this. It came out at the end of last week, and basically it's telling businesses to implement cybersecurity measures now to protect against threats. And I don't know how much more directly they can say this. We still have a lot in speaking particularly to small businesses here, but I think it applies to MSPs too. We still have a lot of people out there that are just kind of not taking this cybersecurity threat seriously, and they're kind of taking the whole "I've been safe all along, so I will continue to be safe with what I'm doing" approach. And that is true until it's not, and I think the day is quickly coming when you're going to start seeing some of these malware bad actors automating their tool sets to the point where they can and will come down to the level of some of the smaller businesses. And if you're an MSP, you're definitely a target. So they go on to outline some things that you should do here, some things you should have. I have a little more guidance coming up from CISA in a little bit, but we have essentially the U.S. government now directly saying like, hey guys, you got to go out and do something, guys and gals. Like if you don't do something, you're gonna eventually have a bad time. So if you're not, if you need like a wake up call to kind of take a look at your cybersecurity stance, then this might be the one. And yeah, it kind of is what it is there. Also from CISA this week, which is actually where I found out about it, but it impacts me directly because I run a couple of these devices, is F5 released 22, I believe the number is, security vulnerabilities this month, a number of which were ranking high. None of them came in at critical, but there are a number of them here for big IPs that came in at 7.5. The scariest thing to me about these is a lot of these. If you take a look over here to the right, a lot of these do not have a fixed version. If you're running anything older than version 14, F5 is kind of officially discontinued support for anything older than code train version 14, which unfortunately leaves a whole lot of devices out there just completely unprotected. If we look here at Shodan, we can see there are 461,000 products Big IP, and these are not. They're not inexpensive devices, right? These are very, very, very expensive devices, and because of their price, a lot of small, medium, and probably small businesses aren't really purchasing them, but a lot of medium businesses that are kind of reaching the edge of their budget to buy, a 30, 40, $50,000 device, they're maybe not replacing it every 5 or 6 years when they kind of go out of style. And so there are just a lot of them out there that are potentially going to be vulnerable for these things forever because there is no path forward. Super interesting notes here. Like Akamai seems to own a lot of these. Salesforce, Oracle, right? Like I was kind of curious looking through the list of organizations that own F5s, just seeing kind of what was out there. But I personally no longer manage, but have under my control indirectly a handful of these devices that fall into that category of can't patch them at this point. So I'm working with a customer now to see what we're gonna do about it. Fortunately, they're not internet exposed, but that only scares me a little bit less than if they were. So, moral of the story, if you have F5s, you probably ought to look, and you probably ought to be patching them as soon as you can. Or if you can't, we should take the CISA's next guidance that I promised we talk through here, which was layering network security. I'm a huge fan of this. I'm a huge fan of generally segmenting networks. I have been known occasionally to what I will call over-segment networks, but these days I kind of take a holistic security approach to it, and I try to think of things from separate security domains and think, does thing X have any logical reason to talk to thing Y? If the answer to that is no, then we probably ought to have some sort of security boundary between them. With things like Print Nightmare and stuff like that, that can go a long way towards protecting lateral movement or against lateral movement, right? So maybe somebody comes in and they're willing to whack or they're able to whack a print server, but if that print server can only talk to other print servers, then while they may get that, their ability to move laterally is greatly diminished. However, this does not save you. We definitely have a customer that we only peripherally deal with in a very limited engagement, and have definitely had a conversation with them about this. But they think because some systems of theirs are behind two firewalls, the fact that they're running old, out-of-date Red Hat with old, out-of-date software doesn't matter, and they don't need patched. Patching these systems, their industrial systems, it's difficult. There's a lot of QA and a lot of proofing that has to get done before these things can be patched, so they just don't patch them nearly as often as they want to. And these are, in some extents, they're life safety systems, right? These are processing, this is processing feedback from very large industrial controls where if it got it wrong, it could, in theory, kill somebody. So it kind of scares me. We kind of use like a formula that says, the total scaredness of myself is the likelihood of impact multiplied by how bad it is if it actually is breached, and potentially killing somebody puts it in a pretty bad world to me. So I think that we should not use this as an excuse to not patch and keep up to date. However, if we do have systems that are out of date and we aren't in a reasonable spot to patch them right now, putting them in a walled garden where they literally can't talk to anything is a good way, a good short-term measure that we can use to deal with those things. So, on to the next thing, and our last thing that I want to talk about tonight. This one was really interesting. I came across this Bleeping Computer article. This site's interesting. I don't know how I feel about it, but it's got a lot of good things that link to other things. Apparently, there is a bug in the McAfee Agent that lets you run code as system. And this is a pretty run-of-the-mill attack in that it basically you can write to an unprivileged directory and cause an underlying piece of the system to pick up stuff that it shouldn't. In this case, this thing uses a version of OpenSSL that it writes to a directory that unprivileged users can write to. They can drop an openssl.conf in there and basically change how the system behaves, and as such, they can escalate and they can run code as system, since the thing running OpenSSL runs a system. This is a pretty common attack vector I've seen all over. It's kind of, I'll put it in the same vein as like unquoted service paths and things like that. It's just it's a pretty common exploit chain that I've been seeing these days on a lot of systems, and it's a pretty easy way to go ahead and escalate on a lot of systems if you're out there. At this point, if you're running McAfee, you probably don't want to do that. Even John McAfee had a joking video that he did about how to uninstall it. If you ever want to go laugh a bit on YouTube, it's nothing really else to say there. That's the large part of what I wanted to go through tonight. I want to try to keep these below 10-ish minutes, although I see that I'm at 11 right now. So we'll go ahead and end, and I'm curious what people think of this format. Go ahead and leave comments. I am going to hold short of doing the traditional thing that people do at the end of YouTube videos. Just don't feel like it. Things aren't that interesting yet. So I will bid you farewell, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Thanks.